You know what that sound means.
It's review time, and now we're going to review The Hunt, directed by Craig Zobel. So, this movie comes to us also from Blumhouse Productions. So, this movie was originally supposed to come out in September of last year and was delayed because of its content and possible controversy surrounding it. And, it finally came out. So, right off the bat, I guess the question is, do you think this deserved to be delayed or canceled or whatever?
No.
Yeah, it's kind of like I can understand delayed for when it was originally going to come out, but shelved altogether, it absolutely did not warrant that.
I don't think people understand what kind of a movie you have to make in order for me to even consider that.
Yeah,
it has to be on the level of some movies I would be uncomfortable mentioning on this podcast.
Yeah, it'd have to be pretty bad.
So, yeah, this definitely didn't hit that level in any way.
Yeah, I would say it's kind of much ado about nothing, as has been the story with a lot of these controversial movies.
Right.
Joker was another one that kind of had not the same thing, but similar
rumblings surrounding it and such.
Yeah, exactly. It had similar rumblings. That's exactly what I would say. This isn't really, it's not really overly controversial.
No, and I think at the very least it also, and this kind of will feed into one of my comments on the movie, the movie doesn't really, it's not very cutting in its commentary. It's not really saying anything you probably haven't heard already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think part of that is, it is kind of just it's playing into it's a satire. It's trying to play into caricature and stereotype.
Right.
A lot.
And that's because the movie's about...
Well, it's an adaptation of the Most Dangerous Game by the gentleman's name, who I can't remember, but we mentioned it a couple podcasts ago, I think. Which, the whole concept is all these rich people... They trap a bunch of not rich people and they hunt them for sport.
Right.
Only this time, there may or may not be a plot surrounding it, why these particular people are being hunted by these particular people. So that's really all we can get into without spoiling
Yeah,
a whole lot.
It's about people hunting people, and it's kind of set up where it's the elites are hunting the simple folk, I guess you could put it.
They wake up in a forest and they're getting shot at.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you're right, though. It's it's not very cutting.
No.
It is, I suppose it's political in some ways.
Sure.
And it kind of plays both sides. But I will say this in fairness. I can see how people misinterpreted this from the trailer.
Yeah.
Because you can say you're playing both sides, but you do make, and again without spoiling too much, you do on the surface level, you have one side is being portrayed as the bad guys, and even though the ones who are being hunted are kind of portrayed as assholes, it's you're clearly set up to sort of sympathize with them more.
Mm-hmm.
At least from the trailer.
Right.
When you watch the movie and the details get a little sorted out, they're like, okay, everyone's a jerk, I guess is kind of the message.
The trailer's very, not misleading, but it shows you a lot of stuff out of context.
Right.
A lot of lines where you're just oh, who are these characters? And when you watch the movie, the idea that you had of the characters prior completely shifted because you're oh, this character's this in this movie? Okay, got it. So it's a lot of that. Maybe avoid the trailers for this one, especially the new one.
Yeah.
They show a bit too much. Not too bad. This isn't 1917 where they show the money shot or anything, but it's just go into a cold.
Yeah, I think that would help because within the first 10 minutes, it's not turned on its head. It's still basically the same movie, but it's definitely not the way you think it was going to play out.
Right.
Yeah. So obviously, as we mentioned, there's some political commentary because it's the left elite are hunting the kind of conservative conspiracy lunatic right.
Right.
That's kind of the two stereotypes that they're playing with. And the political like jokes and dialogue, while it wasn't uncalled for because politics is part of the plot, so it wasn't like out of place, there was still a few times where some of the lines felt a little clumsy.
I want to say maybe like 60% of them for me, I was just like, okay, you're just kind of like it's like reference-itis. It's like, all right, you're just naming hashtags.
Yeah, didn't it just kind of feel like someone just went on the internet and searched like conspiracy right wing and then like went on like jerk liberals and then just like you know what I mean, just like looked up the two worst like of both sides and they're like, okay, I'm just gonna write some of these down. And then it almost felt like they used it in like places that didn't make like sense.
No, and they didn't use it in ways that were clever or I found satirically enjoyable.
Yeah,
but sometimes they did. Very sparingly.
Yeah, it was weird. It was. I kind of felt that way about the humor in general. It was very hit or miss.
There's one line in particular, and this isn't really a spoiler, but it's very indicative of the whole movie. It like starts out, and you're like, so one of the characters is like, yeah, you know, he's talking about how he has a podcast. Haha, we have a podcast. Yeah. But it's like, oh, everybody's got podcasts now. Make a podcast joke, and he's like talking about something that he read on the internet. He's like, yeah, I like totally shared it. Like, he's like, I shared it like 50 of my friends. I mean, I didn't even believe it, but like, I thought, you know, I shared it. And I'm like, okay, now you're getting somewhere. That's funny. Like, I shared it 50 times, but I didn't even believe it. It's like, all right, now you're scratching the surface of like, that is a nuanced thought. That is something people do all the time. That's not just like, he has a podcast. He has Facebook. It's like, no, he shares stuff on Facebook he doesn't even believe is true. It's like, that's pretty specific, but it's also of course, everybody does that from every now and then. It's a specific thought. That worked for me. I wanted more of that, less name dropping of hashtags and whatnot.
It felt like, if not directly naming people, it felt like name dropping memes kind of in a way. But I don't know. There was just times where it didn't feel like it made sense within the story they're telling.
I would say, and this is
like not that they couldn't have brought it up at any time, but
sure.
They bring it up like in awkward ways.
Yeah, like they'll mention stuff like, God, that reminds me like this. You know, like this? Yeah, like that. And I'm like, why are you just naming stuff? It just feels like Mad Libs, you know? It's like,
oh, these are crisis actors. And I'm like, but that doesn't resemble when people use that phrase.
Yeah, I'm like, what do you mean?
Or like, oh, they're like,
it feels like a bot came up with it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's like you're close.
Yeah, you were like,
I got to reprogram your AI a little bit. It's like, you're not getting it. I got to go back to the drawing board.
But damn it, I have to rework this circuitry.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I'll say this, though. This is I would say it's, as a satire, it's largely ineffective, but I don't really care.
Yeah, I thought it was like an alright action movie.
I thought it was, at times, a great action movie.
Yeah.
There are a couple fights in this where I'm like, God damn it, I've been wanting a fight like this in a movie for a long time.
So I told you, those gritty thriller level fights.
Oh, man. There's a fight at the end here where I'm like, this could be 20 minutes long. And it's like, it harkened back to like something like Obsessed, but like nowhere near as hilarious, but just like very desperate but very well choreographed and shot and like great use of props.
Yeah.
I'm liking this a lot.
No, there's definitely some good action scenes. That's in no small part thanks to Betty Gilpin.
She's great.
You know what's weird? So I didn't find her character particularly good. The way it's written. Just kind of like the boring, stoic, badass character. We've kind of seen this before.
Right.
Like, I'm emotionless, and I'm just going to kick everyone's ass. But this speaks to how good of an actress she is. I cared about the character because she elevated what I thought was kind of, on paper, would be a normally very boring character.
Right.
Her performance elevated the script, which is more than I can say about a lot of, like, actors and actresses.
the delivery of one of her lines gave me the biggest laugh in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, like, that says a lot. Like, none of the satire shit made me laugh, but there's a scene where she figures out what's going on.
All right, is it time to move to spoilers?
Yeah.
All right, what
Let's
do you
do
got?
it.
So what I'm talking about is like the part where they're in the train car. He's like, they're crisis actors. I'm like, but that doesn't make like that's not a time when someone uses that phrase.
Yeah, just like it's a little square peg round holy.
Yeah, or like she's like nothing like slaughtering a bunch of deplorables. Like,
see, I didn't get that. I actually didn't get that. Or like what I didn't get was I didn't get how that was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
But then I guess like I had it clarified to me where it's like, no, the Manorgate thing was a thing before it actually was a thing, and she was sarcastically joking about it. I'm like, this is very convoluted, and it doesn't work.
that plot twist I thought was kind of stupid. But
at
then
the
of
very
course
least,
Betty Gilpin's like, but now you are killing people.
Yeah, and she's like, that's not the point. I wasn't before, and it's like,
yeah,
okay, this is fine.
Yeah,
but I'm just glad this is an excuse for fight. So let's fight. Let's
fight scene was ridiculous.
Let's stab each other with fucking food processor blades and
my God,
thermometers and shit. I'm like, this is just great.
If there was one complaint, it's like it was a little chopped up at times.
Yeah,
but I guess with, as I call them, the thriller style fights, like the desperate ones, where it's not John Wick, it's not Bruce Lee. Mm-hmm. Like with those, I guess quicker intercutting is kind of part of the style.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like when Paul Greengrass shoots,
a Bourne fight scene.
Yeah, it's like it kind of matches to have a little frantic cutting, I suppose.
As I said, like you
do get a few good, glorious long shots as well.
Oh yeah, and there's just like a lot of like really cool there's just a lot of cool like, oh man, yeah, that's a great way of utilizing the space. Like when she gets kicked through the fireplace.
Yeah,
like,
I thought that was awesome.
Like, and set design, like where they're hitting her, she's getting hit with the fucking, they're not even chandelier, like the hanging lights. Like, she hits her in the face with it. I'm like, come on, man. Like, when you're watching a fight scene and you're just like, oh, he fell on him. He's got him now. Oh, there's the gun. Oh, he pushes the gun across the floor.
Oh, I hate that.
It's just
boring.
Like, that scene was like, oh wow, this is a lot of stuff you don't usually see.
Yeah.
Or like one of my favorite parts is where she's got the break action shotgun and she pinches her like arm skin.
Yeah, I'm like, oh
fuck
that.
I don't even know what that feels like, but I know that hurts. Like, I don't know what that specific pain is like, but
yeah,
shit like that. Like, give me something new, like different. Like, use the space, the props, man.
How about that bunker fight scene?
It was good.
Or like shootout. Yeah, that was good stuff. I almost kind of wish there was a little more of that.
Yeah, like the opening scene, that scene, and the final fight scene are the best set pieces.
But what's so weird is, there's only like 3 that are like.
And the gas station scene's good too.
Yeah, but I mean that's like a shorter scene. Mm-hmm. Or at least that's more leaning on the thriller than action.
Right.
But it's kind of weird. You almost don't have time to fully react to this movie. Because it's the 90 minutes goes quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that that's not long, but it goes fast. And it doesn't necessarily feel like chunks are missing, but
you don't really get a whole lot of substance out of it.
Yeah, like, unfortunately.
The bare bones elements of this movie are the best parts. The action, and I mean, like, when I say intrigue, I don't mean the narrative intrigue. I mean, like, the opening scene where they're, like, shifting perspectives and tricking you into thinking who the main character is. Like, that works. Yeah. That's not a narrative that's a very small technique. It's not, like, the plot of the movie. It's like, that shit's good. Anything involving, like, a fight scene or like a scene of like someone stalking someone around a corner or something.
Yeah.
Like, that stuff worked. The narratives, the uber narrative stuff, the plot twists, I'm like, yeah, this is a little too much. And the satire stuff didn't work for me either.
Yeah, because, I guess like, it's like, oh, this was just a big misunderstanding. It just kind of feels like, I guess that's part of the point is like, maybe if people would listen to each other more. Mm-hmm. I guess. Mm-hmm. But I don't know.
I think the real stars of this movie for me were, oddly enough, well, not oddly enough, in Betty Gilpin's case, she was great, but
Yeah,
I thought that her and Craig Zobel, because like he really, specifically with the action scenes, I was like, yeah, these two are really bringing it. The script by Nick Cuse and Damon Lindelof for me really didn't do it for me.
Yeah, it kind of felt like they wanted to go harder in the paint on either side. I don't know, but it just kind of felt like they didn't.
No, yeah, you're right. Great casting.
Yeah.
Glenn Howard.
Yeah.
Like,
I actually thought it was pretty
role,
funny.
You cast this role pretty well.
Yeah. I thought his character is pretty funny as well.
The acting's, you know what's weird is the acting's good for the most part. Like, as we mentioned, Betty Gilpin is great.
I think she's carries the movie.
Absolutely. And like Hilary Swank is pretty good. Like, she's all right. She doesn't have a whole lot to do.
No, yeah.
A lot of her dialogue is like over the radio and like off screen.
Yeah, she's not really all that developed as a character. It's just Athena's the head of the bad guys or whatever.
Yeah, and then like there's like supporting characters that are like, again, they vary between being like, I could do without this character. Can they die, please? Or like, yeah, this is fine.
Who was your Can They Die, Please?
Who was it?
Was it the guy who she's stuck with in the train car?
Yeah, and I love me. I mean, what's his name? Ethan Suplee.
Yeah,
dude from My Name Is Earl, and he's been in a bunch of shit. He's great. He's a great character actor and actor in general. His character was insufferable. Yeah, he was just like, but it didn't feel like a real insufferable person. No, because I think a lot of because that character's supposed to be like he's like one of those YouTube conspiracy theorist people that talks behind a microphone. It's like, I don't know how many of those people actually are like that on the real, like in real life, like even just talking, Oh, like, I'm sure that there's plenty that are though. There's plenty that are, but like I think this movie misses the whole point of like a lot of people say shit behind a glass screen and they just aren't that fucking way in real life. And like, the distance, the antisocial quality of social networking, it allows people the lack of empathy and saying fucked up shit all the time. Oh, and what you're saying is now that shit's hitting the fan, you'd think they'd act more rationally, I guess? Or at least just be like, I don't know. It just, and I get it's a satire, it's supposed to be extreme, but it just, for me, the only character that I liked was Betty Gilpin, because she felt like she was like not in the movie. She felt like a different movie. And then there's a reason for that is she's the wrong Crystal. Right. They picked the wrong one, which I thought was that was like totally stupid. If you guys had all this oversight and tech to figure out who the hell these people are, you wouldn't. I guess that's a nitpick, but it's kind of not, because it's a huge part of the third act. Again, it's a narrative nitpick. And all my problems with this movie come from the narrative and writing. And don't you think, like, if the point was, like, look at these two crazy sides, if you wanted to make her the moderate, you should have made it not a twist. It should have been like, you've got the wrong person. Like, don't hide anything. Why bother hiding? It's like, because then it's like, you already had the initial thought that she was different than the other, like, you knew she wasn't like a conspiracy theory nut or whatever, Right. Like, yeah, she has like an accent, and she, like, we learned that she served in Afghanistan, but like, she's not like the others. Right. So I kind of figured something like that was coming, but it's what we get as the twist that I felt kind of stupid. What was kind of forced, at least. Yeah, everything narratively speaking, not everything, but all the problems I had, usually they involve the script. Yeah. Everything else, like all the production level elements, I was like, it's better than fine. It's like, it's pretty good. Okay, there was another line where I'm like, that just felt forced. It's like before she kills the one guy at the gas station, the lady who's pretending to be, the fake couple from fake Arkansas. It's like, global warming is real. I felt like that was just like not funny. It was such a better line. It got a good laugh out of the 6 people in the theater. What's that? Was, don't drink that, that's poison. Oh yeah, it's got 47 grams of sugar or whatever. Right, because that's clever, and that actually took like some writing. It wasn't just like, I'm gonna say something I heard on the internet. The biggest laugh, or like I'm gonna say something that's a hashtag, or like a
I'm going to make a statement just to make a statement. There's a little too much of that from both the elite people and the rednecks.
The line that cracked me up the most in the whole movie was, I don't know, it's just the delivery. Betty Gilpin, when she finally figures it out and she's about to shoot Amy Madigan, she's like, cigarettes in Arkansas are $6. So that means you messed up, bitch. And
Yeah.
she fucking shoots her. It's the delivery of that line.
Right, but that's another clever moment.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, because you're like, how did she figure this out? Mm-hmm. And you're like, it's something to do with these cigarettes. What is she going on about this?
Yeah. It's just good. That stuff was good. See?
Yeah.
And like that is writing too. Like there are scenes where the writing is good, but I think overall the overall point of the movie didn't really hit me as much. But again,
what do you think the point was?
I don't even know. I think the movie was trying to say something I already get, which is like both sides are
crazy, and we kind of knew
wacky,
that.
And it's like, yeah, I know that.
It's
and,
like,
liberal elites are hypocrites. I'm like, yeah, I know.
They should have made it like a deadly game of paintball almost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, because when one side's being hunted, it's like it's harder to get that point across if you're trying to say both sides are crazy. Right. And I feel like that's what the movie was trying to say, based on like the kind of on the nose, like clunky lines that like only morons would say in real life.
Yeah.
That came from both the left and the right sided people in this movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but yeah, Betty Gilpin helped carry this movie.
Absolutely.
However, there's one part where sometimes when I'm watching a movie, it's just like, and I'll space out. Well, sometimes I'll be bored and I'll be annoyed bored, but then I'll just space the fuck out. So there's one part where she's telling the fucking tortoise and the hare story, and I was just so not listening, and I zoned out for a minute, and then it killed the tortoise. I'm like, what? I'm like, oh, and I like figured out, but
because a jackrabbit always wins.
That just seemed extremely unnecessary. Like,
well, it was
really
also like
not that funny or good or whatever.
The guy, like, I was sitting there the whole time. I'm like, the guy's not going to interject and be like, yeah, this is the tortoise and the hare. Everybody knows the story. Yeah, but like, I get the point. Is like, it's not the tortoise and the hare. It's a fucked up version of it. Right. It's like, I don't know. It's a little bit of self awareness. Like, even just like if he interjected and was like, yeah, I know this story, and she's like just kept going. I don't know. Yeah. Small nitpick, but...
No, it's a little nitpick, but as I said...
Again, writing.
Other than... Yeah. But, I mean, you know, I can hardly say that about most of, like, actors and actresses, like in other movies. Mm-hmm. You know, because sometimes we'll say, oh, well, it was a bad script. They didn't have enough to work with. Well, she had a not great script and a particularly not well-written character, but her performance elevated what was written.
Absolutely.
Yeah, which is... As I said, rare. All right, so you want to move on to scores?
Well, let's do it.
All right, so what do you got?
I think, again, as a satire, this really didn't work for me. A lot of the dialogue is just overly on the nose and simple, and the plot is overly complex. But for what I ended up getting out of this movie, and from what I understood this movie was from jump, I'm like, oh, this is just going to be a pretty solid action movie with some stuff that they try and trickle in here and there that just doesn't work for me. So I honestly focused on the action scenes and the thriller elements, and I got what I honestly didn't expect I'd get. This is a good movie. I'd give it like a 7.
Okay. I'm going to go slightly lower, because, I mean, it was one of those things where, the credits rolled, and I wasn't disappointed. No. Because that's been the story of this year so far with movies. Mm-hmm. But I felt like it was a bit lacking, but it's because it's just so short and just to the point, despite there not really being enough action in my opinion, which again I think was the best part. I'd give this 3 out of 5.
Okay, so that brings us to a grand total of 10 out of 15. Not too shabby.
Not too bad, actually. So that'll do it for our review of Croatian Summer Camp Blues.